Hey friends, I'm trying this new thing where I am recording video and audio separately, and then I'm going to put that together in editing. I updated the drivers for my audio interface, and now for videos, when I record on my computer, it only records on like the left side for some reason, so we'll see kind of what happens. But yeah, that's that. So in my last video, I kind of just posted a flip through of my sketchbook, which I had started kind of over the last year, and that was kind of the first time I started drawing at all. And so that sketchbook was tracking my progress and the different drawings that I've done over time. And I kind of wanted to talk about that entire process of, starting drawing from having no experience really at all to kind of getting to where I am now. And, what I think is like pretty good for, I would never have expected me to get to this kind of level. So it's pretty cool. And this kind of all started from my friend Visa, who coined this term of kind of like doing 100 things. So this is like if you're trying to pick up a new skill or like learn something new, a good way to learn is to just do 100 or like make 100 things of whatever like unit of that skill there are. So like, for example, for drawing, you would draw 100 portraits or, draw 100 things. For things like writing, you would like write 100 posts or like write 100 like journal entries or something. For music, like piano, you would like play 100 melodies, something like that. And the idea is that the best way to learn is pretty much just through doing things. And I wanted to go into a bit about kind of why, that has worked for me and why I think that is a pretty good way to try and learn things. And yeah, for my journey with drawing, you can see kind of from my first drawing to my 100th drawing, kind of what the differences look like, and my subsequent drawings as well. So how does this really work? Did I just have some hidden talent for drawing that I secretly unlocked or something like that? Well, I don't think that's really how it is at all. I think it really is just learning by doing. And so the idea kind of comes from there's like this one parable of like the ceramics class that some guy had written about, and I'll include a link to an excerpt in the description. But the idea with this like ceramics class is there's this professor that's teaching this class, and at the beginning of the term, he divides the class into two groups, right? He just divides one group and says like, hey, for you guys, I'm going to be judging you at the end of the term based on like the best quality pot that you can make. And for the other half of the class, he tells them, hey, I'm going to judge you just based on the number of pots that you make, so on quantity and not on quality. And what happens in this story is that, at the end of the term, it's actually the group that was being judged on quantity that ends up making better quality pots than the group that was being judged on quality. The idea here is to just make a lot of things, and through that process, you'll kind of find ways to improve by doing. You have some sense of taste, as like Ira Glass calls it, and your taste is kind of going to be your guiding star, and you have like your own skill, which is very far potentially from that taste. And by making a lot of things, by doing 100 things, you kind of build a better intuition about what the gap is between your taste and your skill, and you also build better mechanical skill or kind of better skill, and can produce better work as you like refine it over time. And starting out for me, my first drawings, you could pretty clearly tell that I didn't really have any idea what I was doing. And so, that like gap between your own skill and your taste might be gigantic, right? Like for me, that's kind of how I felt, where I was like, there's no way I can get to drawing something that looks like a real face. I don't even know how to draw like anything that really looks like a real face. This is just like a very cartoon flat looking face. But that's normal, because, I was just starting out and I had no practice at all doing any drawing. But the important thing is that like over time, as you just put in more reps, you just build up that intuition and you build up that skill, and that's kind of how you improve. And I really think that everything kind of stems out of that. So for me, I went into it and I didn't actually watch any type of instructional video or kind of get any instruction before starting. I kind of just wanted to draw as many things as I could. And that was partly because like knowing myself, I feel like I would have potentially fallen into the trap of like watching a bunch of videos on how to draw faces, and then, you know, either just like losing steam or like feeling like I, you know, wouldn't be able to kind of recreate what was in those videos, and then just not actually done any drawing, which is, I think, like even worse outcome, right? It's like I learned a lot of stuff in theory, but then I didn't do any practice. So I really wanted to focus on actually doing the practice, and then eventually, you know, I assumed like I would look up theory when I needed to, and that's pretty much how it worked. So I felt like I kind of I did a bunch of drawing, and then through that I was building up my own intuition and kind of like priming up my mind to be ready to like take in instruction later, which is what I did. I looked up some videos on like how to draw faces kind of around the halfway mark at like drawing like 50 or so, and then that actually really helped because it kind of cleared up a lot of things that I was thinking about, and like solidified some of my intuition, connected some dots, and then from there I was actually able to improve a lot, and yeah, really kind of get a lot better, and then, you know, eventually get to where I was for number 100. So yeah, if you're interested in, you know, trying to learn something new or trying to kind of keep working at something that you're currently learning, I would recommend, you know, giving this a try. Yeah, just try to kind of put in more reps, and, you know, try to reduce, set up your environment so that it reduces the resistance to you putting in reps, if that makes sense. So like for YouTube, you know, I'm also trying to make a lot of videos, and some of the resistance there for me is like, you know, now this like audio setup, as well as kind of like, you know, I want to write out some stuff, some notes beforehand to reference when I before I make the video, and so all of that is kind of like extra work that does put some load on me. So I'm trying to kind of play around with that and see if I can maybe do less prep, just kind of like jump into things where I can kind of just make more videos more quickly. And then one last note, with any conversation that kind of involves learning something new, or kind of practicing a skill, the topic of like habits, I think, comes up a lot. And I think that this idea of like doing 100 things actually is a bit more of a constructive approach, or like a kind of direct approach to learning something than the other kind of camp where it's like, oh, you need to like build a habit to make sure that you're putting in like 1 hour a day into this thing because that's how you improve at the fastest rate. But I think building a habit is, to me, like, it's something I've tried before, and it has always felt like kind of a meta layer on top of what you're doing, where you're now managing like, how do I build this habit, and like put in the time. Where when I tried to, you know, do the 100 things approach with drawing, the habit actually kind of came naturally out of that, where I was like trying to do a lot of drawings, and I ended up doing it like pretty regularly, you know, like every day or maybe like every 2 days. And that kind of eventually turned into a habit. So for me, yeah, this approach I think is just a lot more kind of direct and interesting. But, you know, you should do whatever works for you. If you enjoy, you know, kind of planning out habits and stuff, yeah, as long as it works, you know. Anyway, that's all I had to say on the topic. Let me know in the comments below if you've picked up something new, you know, in the last year, and let me know how that went for you, and what kind of process you might have gone through. Anyway, done.